One day we were shooting a montage sequence. I was playing a soldier, and we were doing a montage of his time in basic training. And I had a rifle, and the camera was on my right, and I'm right-handed. So the rifle was blocking my face from the camera. And I just remember, "Hey, Luke." I'm like, "Yes, sir." "Hey, we got to make Adam left-handed." I was like, "Yes, sir." "Yeah, we can't see your face." "You got it." I switched the gun over to my left hand. He's like, "Great, roll." We got the footage. And then what was funny to me is I had just left school. So I remember like certain sensations of being like, well, actually, in my character backstory, Adam, like, bruh, like we ain't doing that. Rob Reiner said, move the gun so we can see your face. Dog, just do it. And then we out by lunch.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Luke Tennie is an actor. He sat down with me on the Upper West Side of Manhattan to talk about the work.
Do you have a typical way that you like to begin your preparation process?
Yes. Thank you for asking. It's reading. I read the script a lot. And then it's this very simple thing I got from one of my acting teachers out here, where I'll just really write down everything that's said about my character. Whether my character's saying it, other characters are saying it, and if the stage direction says it, or the action says it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the action will introduce a character. It'll be like skittish. It's important if the author says that.
Right.
I'll write the author said my character's skittish. Mm-hmm. And then if my character says something like, I ain't scared, but the author said he's skittish, then I'm thinking about, oh, perhaps this is a lie my character is telling. Mm. So writing all that stuff down tells me about the impression this character leaves on all the other characters, and the impression, like the intended impression the author has for this character to leave on the reader. Mm-hmm. All that stuff is like baseline. And then once I've read it a bunch and I have all that down, then I start talking about like, what does this person want? And once I get there, then I'm talking about how different they are from me in terms of how they talk, how they walk, how they breathe. And then that's when it starts getting physical. Mm. Then after that, I start playing, having fun. Might like, if I got a trusted homie, I might like do an interview as the character, some fun stuff like that. Yeah, I love it. You see, you
that's
like,
an interesting, I never heard that. That's an interesting, you know, some people like write a journal of them, but I like the idea of doing an interview because you're
put you on the spot a little bit.
And you're performing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
For no one but you, maybe discover something. It makes me excited.
Yeah.
You see, I'm smiling when I'm talking about it. You know?
Yeah. But you know, wait, let's go back to the other thing you said though, because I got a question about that. Why did this thing start that actors cross out if it's written how they say something? You know, sometimes actors cross that out. You're saying you're taking that and it's important, you're writing it down. Mm-hmm. I never understood why you'd want to cross that out. I guess after a while, you want to have ownership of it. You want to be stuck to this certain way to play it according to what the writer says. But isn't it important what the writer says?
I agree.
Why is this one of the first things? Like cross out all the descriptors.
Yeah, I write them all down. I do the exact opposite.
It's like the opposite.
This is great information.
Yeah.
At least for me, growing up in South Florida, I played football. I was an offensive lineman. Mm. When there was a touchdown that was scored, it was because of the offensive line.
Right.
We got no accolades.
That's right.
If there is a touchdown, if we got stuffed, like a fourth down, and we ain't, now it's a turnover, it's our fault. The wins, we can't take credit in.
Yeah.
And the losses, we take all the credit for.
Right.
That was just the position I played. Yeah. It reshaped my mind and helped me to, you know, I'm 14 through 18, 4 years of football. My ego's gonna build in a different way because I'm not a wide receiver.
Right.
I know there's a time limit on this. I'm looking at football like this is a means to pay for college.
Right.
I'm not looking at it like I'm gonna make it to the league. I got a different brain about it. Mm-hmm. So when I transition to performing, the last thing I'm thinking about, like I think about why people might feel the need to cross that out. I think agency. They want to feel control over their character. I don't care. I'm the one playing it.
Yeah, you already got all the agency you need, right?
It's me. If you give me a line read and say, I want you to say it like that, I'll do it. Ideally, I can do some other takes too, because that's fun and enjoyable for me. But I'll do it because there's not going to be a list of credits that tells you this choice was actually a line read. Me as an actor, I didn't get to choose that. The director chose that. Ain't nobody doing that. Yeah. They're going to look at my performance either way.
Yeah.
So I don't need this desire to like combat control. I just try to fall into it. There's an infinite amount of choices between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That I can, like if freaking 2.5 is off limits and there's like 1.11111, 1.11119. There's all that infinite between.
Yeah.
So I don't feel captured or controlled by that. Yes. I enjoy it.
And you know, you have a video online that I saw. I don't know for what, but it's talking about a pet peeve you have, an acting pet peeve, and you basically say, you gotta learn your lines, right? And because there's this, again, there's this other thing, and we hear it from great actors on this show.
It's true
that they cultivate this thing that they do not learn the lines initially. They kind of, I don't know, and you go into it, learn your lines so you can play, because we are players.
That's our first name.
It's our first name. You say. That's like step one, like the only real job you have, essentially, is learning the lines.
That's really it. All the other stuff,
everything else is just.
That's your real job, is to parrot these lines. That's how I feel about it. It could be because I started in theater, but I also like, the other thing is, young performers, I don't care how brilliant you are. I don't care if you Chalamet, Lupita. If I can't name you, that's not for you. It's off limits. Learn these rules before you break them, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's very responsible to teach younger performers the rules.
Yeah.
And that's not that big of a rule to learn your lines. That's not the craziest thing in the world, to make a sacrifice to go, oh, I don't want to get locked in a certain way. Okay, well then be an actor and figure it out. But come to set with your lines done so you can have fun. How you gonna play? You ain't got no toys.
Yeah. What you're talking about here is this idea of being prepared, ultimately prepared, so that you can play. You know, it's not like you're saying, I'm going to be strict and learn these lines and I got to stick to this. The second part of this coin, the other side of the coin, is the play part.
All the fun stuff is on the other side of that.
You have to do the preparation first, though.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Man, and when I think about, Jason Segel is, I think this is true. Of all the performers that I've worked with, he seems to be so prepared, it like affects the crew. Like, I've seen how some people need a minute.
Yeah.
It don't matter what Jimmy is going through on Shrinking. Jason has the categorical brain to separate, hi, I'm Jason, good morning. Mm-hmm. And still go into the scene and mourn the loss of his wife. He doesn't need to be like, I need to second everybody out.
Yeah.
That's not him.
Yeah.
And that's what inspires me. When I see an actor who's so prepared, he comes to work done. He doesn't need the 10 minutes beforehand. Now, I'm not judging the 10 minutes beforehand. Right. The hour beforehand. Right. We're artists. I get it.
Yeah.
But when I see Jason, who can say good morning, welcome to set, introduce himself, even though we know who you are, bro.
Yeah.
We got it. It's Marshall, you know? It's the dude who wrote Forgetting Sarah Marshall. We know who you are. He'll always introduce himself. He is so prepared that it will not jeopardize the capability for him to switch right into where his character's mindset is. And I aspire to that. There's something so encouraging about seeing a performer who could, if he wanted to, like, shut down the set, change the tone, the attitude. But no, I call him QB. Because my team captain, he shows up, he greets people, he gets everyone hyped, and then he'll go throw a touchdown pass.
Right. And keeping your analogy, though, you're not still on the offensive line.
Yeah. Now
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get the accolades.
I'm running the ball in the end zone.
You're a wide receiver
Yeah.
at least,
I'm catching
if not a
passes.
quarterback in some scenes,
Thank
right?
Thank you very
I
much.
messed up your analogy, but
No,
we got
in
it.
there. Yeah, I know. I'm very blessed.
All right, but tell me where though this adherence of this preparation stems from. Take me back. Well, first of all, take me back why you even wanted to do this in the first place, this endeavor, and then talk a little bit about where this kind of stuff was instilled in you.
I grew up South Florida, the youngest of 3. I got an older brother. He's 2 years older than me. Older sister. She's 7 years older than me. And my parents together, they were a force to be reckoned with. I had such a blessed life. We had a single family home, and I really enjoyed welcoming people who didn't have what we had into our home. And my parents kind of knew their role in their lives, you know. It's really cool. But we were taught gratitude and responsibility. And my siblings had our parents. I had everybody because I'm the baby. And my brother always made sure if there was a lesson that he learned, I didn't have to learn that lesson on my own. He always passed it down. My sister was a little older, you know, so she was off in college when my brain started to develop a little bit. But she was the same way in terms of passing knowledge. And my family was obsessed with excellence. Not in an unhealthy way. When I came home, I struggled in math. And when I came home with a test and I got a 73%, and my parents saw me studying all week, the week before, they saw me doing my worksheets, turning in my homework. They're very proud of my 73% because I earned that C.
Right.
And I tried really hard.
Yeah.
They weren't like, oh, this isn't an A. But my dad would ask, is there anything you could be doing to get a B? Is there anything you're not doing? I remember one conversation I had with him. He was like, I was like, Dad, I studied for 3 hours and I got a 63%. Maybe you need to study for 4. I was like, oh, okay. It's like that. So that's where a lot of that sort of like passion for the best we can do started. And then I was good in football because I was big, but I wasn't very athletic. And it became apparent to me that I wasn't really going to be playing football in college. And I was in an acting class. And the only reason I was in there is because I forgot to change my elective. So I was like, I could have taken, I don't know, tech or something. Wow. And I just ended up in acting too. And my teacher, Christina Wright Ballard, was just this powerhouse. And she took it seriously, like we were talking about before. She was like, this is an art, this is fun, but it's also a career. And she pulled me aside when we got knocked out of the playoffs. And she's like, I think you can do this for a job.
Wow.
And that's what made me want to do it. Jeez. Her belief in me. I went home, I reported to my parents. They believed her as well. And they said, well, what's the next step? And that became the question that we continued to answer until I'm sitting here.
Wow.
What's the next step? That's it.
And so at some point, the answer, what's next, was training.
Yes.
At school. And was your family behind that totally, like going into this kind of profession?
So my parents kind of operated on the system of proof, which was if you have a desire, prove it. And they would support something that we had proven desire in. I was like, Dad, I want to play the bass guitar. Oh, okay. Can you get your hands on one to practice? Yeah. So at church, I wanted to be in the worship team, play bass guitar, sing harmony. They allowed me to take the bass home. I practiced 4 times a week for about an hour. 3 years later, my dad, hey, we'd like to buy you something. You're a little older now. We're going to let you pick. We can get you a laptop. We can get you a bass guitar. Bass guitar! Are you sure? A laptop would be very helpful for bass guitar! He's like, you know why I'm comfortable getting you this bass guitar? Why? Because you proved to me that you will commit to learning how to play it and serving in the worship band. I'm like, oh, okay. So through that system, when I was in acting class, I had proven to them that I could take it seriously. And then I had a resource to figure out what the next step was in my teacher. Guys, I think I want to do this professionally. Well, what does that look like from where you are now? Well, all the colleges stopped auditioning except a few, so I'd like to audition for those. What do you need to audition? I need contrasting monologues. What does that mean? Speeches. Okay, where do you get those? Well, I have to. Really? From what? I just did the theater competition. Oh, look at that. Where do we go? What's the next step? That's how it was in my house.
Yeah.
If I could prove to them that I was committed, they would do everything in their power to get me to the next step. So I stand on the shoulders of giants. So many kids who are artists have the exact opposite response.
Yep.
And those are people who I'm passionate about helping, because I had every reason to be in this dope room with you right now in the great NYC, talking about this cool job that we have, that we love and hate.
Yes. Yes.
I have every reason to be here, and I'm grateful I am.
You went to school across the street.
I did.
So that's
crazy.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Amda, tell me what that experience was like. Did you get your butt kicked?
I got my butt kicked.
Yeah.
I loved it. It seemed to me like an adequate transition from athleticism. When I got there and some of the teachers spoke like coaches, I really understood. I became a lot more empathetic, because I had seen people who never perhaps played a team sport kind of crumble when they were addressed in a certain way. And I don't think that these people were abusive. I think that they were direct. And like, for example, when I was on my football team, I struggled a lot with memorizing the plays. And this, because it felt a little like school. And as an old lineman, you got to like do stuff. You don't really just go like on D-line. You got to memorize what's going on.
Right.
They say I-17 pro right. You got to know what job you're doing. And you got to know it in like 8 seconds. And I remember in practice one time, I went the wrong direction. And the coach addressed me. He was asking a rhetorical question, but I answered it because I'm sassy. He said, "Tennie, why are you going right when you need to go left?" I said, "Coach, do you want me to answer your question? You want me to fix it?" He was like, "I want you to fix it." I was like, "Cool." It shut him up because I didn't want to deal with being berated.
Yeah.
But if he didn't phrase it like a question, maybe I wouldn't have said nothing.
Yeah.
I'm sassy. I got something to say.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to talk. I wanted to fix it. I wanted to show him I could just get back on the field and shake it off and go.
Yeah.
And then that's what I built in that environment. And there are a lot of people where I was watching them build that in college. Whereas for me, because of team sports, I had that kind of stand up for myself attitude. Oh, hold on now. You're in a position of authority, but you're incorrect. You know, not based on my ego, but when they're actually incorrect. Sometimes based on my ego and sometimes shut down. As I should be. You know, sometimes I was running sprints in football from my mouth.
Yeah.
And in college, sometimes they'd be like, "Tennie, you need to sit down and shut up because I'm the director and what I say goes." I'm like, cool. But I watched a lot of my classmates struggle through that when I had access to that because of my team sports background. So that's what I meant by it was like an understandable transition from team sports to that collegiate environment. And most of the butt kicking came from repeatedly doing things that require zero talent. Showing up on time. It's hard when you got an 8 a.m. class.
Yeah.
It's snowing.
Yeah.
You got to put your boots on, you know?
Yeah.
I'm from Florida.
Yeah.
It's -4 degrees. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
What? And I got to walk 10 blocks.
Yeah.
I get there.
Yeah.
So, at least for me, that was where my butt got kicked. The things that didn't require any talent. The opportunities to demonstrate what I've been gifted with when it comes to talent. That was the fun stuff. But it requires no talent to be a professional. It requires no talent to show up on time. Memorizing your lines in terms of how long, talent is involved. But having them memorized requires zero talent. You just do what you need to do.
Right.
So all that is what I really built in my first few semesters in New York. And then I learned to act.
Did they give you a cross section of approaches to the craft?
Yes, several.
Which one did you latch on to? Or did they allow you to latch on to one? Or were they trying to make you just, you know, dip in all of them?
My absolute favorite lesson I learned was from a voice and speech teacher. It was the first day of school at 8 a.m., 2013, October 17th. I remember. He said, "Guys, this is a smorgasbord. Take what you like, leave what you don't. Yes. But when you're in my class, you complete my assignments." Meaning I'm going to teach you these tools. You don't have to use them, but you're going to learn them. And that was my approach to every class.
Yeah.
So we would dabble in Meisner, we would dabble in Stanislavski, we would dabble in Earl Gister. That's Yale. And my ending result is really a hodgepodge. And I think that's really cool because now I dabble in Tennie. And that's me. And I think that should be everyone.
That's right. That's right. Because this is not brain surgery, right? There's not one way to go in through the nose. And blah, blah, blah.
You're so right, man.
So,
and we have this like desire to make it that.
I know.
We want to like calculate it and measure it.
Yeah. And so, and you know, that's why you're not judgmental too. Like you're saying, like, you know, if somebody can get there in whatever way they get there, that's all that matters. It's just about getting there. But
so long as they ain't sacrificing nobody's like mental well-being on the way. That's my big no-no.
Yes.
But yo, if you need your extra hour, take your extra hour.
Yeah.
Let people know.
Yeah.
And we can keep people away.
Right.
It's just what I saw Jason do was exceptional, and I want that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you get right out of college, first audition, you land the role.
Yeah.
First audition, you're like, all right, this is going to be easy now. This is a life of like who said this was hard?
I told my friends I am committed to this right before graduation. I said I am so committed to working 10 years before I get an audition for something that makes me hype. I am committed. First audition out the gate. Very, very blessed.
So maybe that's the secret right there. Everyone has to think.
The mentality.
Just go right into it thinking 10 years.
I wish that was the case, but man, they were looking for black people in 2016, and I'm one, and I'm an actor, and I was new. There were actually 2 parts I was up for at the same time. It was the fridge character from Jumanji, the new Jumanji, and then Shock and Awe. And I got pinned for them both and chose Shock and Awe because Rob Reiner.
Were you picking stuff up from him that you're still using now today?
I learned things from him that I use like every day. The first thing I learned was that guy knows what he wants. On a lot of the days I worked, we were out by lunch. It was really cool. Like we'd literally go eat lunch and go home. It was crazy. We shot in New Orleans in the fall, so like it could have been hotter. It was really nice. But one of the days I really felt like, oh, this is me learning from Rob, was one day we were shooting a montage sequence. I was playing a soldier, and we were doing a montage of his time in basic training. And I had a rifle, and the camera was on my right, and I'm right-handed. So the rifle was blocking my face from the camera. And I just remember, hey, Luke. I'm like, yes, sir. Hey, we got to make Adam left-handed. I was like, yes, sir. Yeah, we can't see your face. You got it. I switched the gun over to my left hand. He's like, great, roll. We got the footage. And then what was funny to me is I had just left school. So I remember like certain sensations of being like, well, actually, in my character backstory, Adam, like, bruh, like we ain't doing that. Rob Reiner said, move the gun so we can see your face. Dog, just do it. And then we out by lunch. And then it was like, I was never really that guy, but there was an element of me that always wanted to verify that wasn't necessary. And sometimes it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be more necessary when my name is on the front of the movie poster.
Right.
When I'm a very blessed young man who just in his first job trying to do his best, you move the gun to your left hand. And then it taught me like discernment.
Yeah.
When to fight, when to pitch an idea, when to not.
Yeah.
And I learned that from Rob. He made me feel confident, and I trusted him to the point where he would tell me to do anything, and I knew it was for the good of the film. And now I know like when to pitch. Because it's like Bill was directing an episode of Shrinking, and I remember that man juggles like a million things at once, and when he's directing, he knows what he wants. And then all of a sudden, there's some problem he has to fix that's like minutia. So he has to turn his brain from like Bill Lawrence, the GOAT of television, to like this guy who's trying to figure out what this is doing and what that's doing. I'm like, that's my job.
Yeah.
So there was this moment where he was like, oh, I got to get you over here. And then then I'm going to take this, put it in compost. He was like, and went to go shoot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we could have spent 30 seconds here, but it's literally in my job description to justify why my character is doing what he's doing.
Right.
I got it, Bill.
Right.
You know, and then I feel really good from that little moment. I guarantee you he does not remember.
Yeah.
And for me, that moment from Shock and Awe where I worked with Rob, that moment that was the seed of like the bonsai tree I'm snipping and pruning now to where I have access to know when to pitch, when to be quiet, when to offer a solution, when to not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What happens though when you offer a solution and it's not, and you know, it's kind of important and it's kind of going to save time, but it's not met with reception?
I'll be quiet. I do a one and done, you know?
Yeah. You're not going to push it.
Yeah. Cause maybe it's no because I'm wrong, or maybe it's no because I'm who said it, or maybe it's no because
there's no time.
They didn't come up with it yet, or maybe there's no time.
Yeah.
But now I'm confident enough. But also the confidence comes with I'm not who I was when I shot Shock and Awe. I was a fresh out of school, Taft-Hartley, not even SAG performer. Now I got a little tenure. I'm season 2 on a great TV show that we had 2 Emmy nominations the year before. So it's like, he don't trust me if I say I'm taking this to confidence. It's fine. But before, maybe not. So all that discernment feeds into, let me give it a shot. So also when somebody, and I've been shut down before too, but I like to move quick. I like to be concise about a pitch. You know, I don't want to sit here and talk all day because time is money, and these people are smarter than me. Right. So if I got something where I'm trying to make somebody's job easier and they don't want it, maybe it didn't make their job easier. Right. I'm gonna be quiet.
Right. When you get your first job from your first audition, there has to be a moment that comes soon after that where you start to not get jobs from auditions.
You are correct.
So when that happened, was there a sizing up that you did about how to approach this audition process that stemmed from the actual rejections? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you have
you're good at this, man.
when you have early success like that, it's going to take a while to figure it out because you need the rejections, right?
I think you're correct.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Every audition became one. I had to reshape my gratitude from booking to having any opportunity to act. So I re-geared that, and that affected my anxiety and nerves. I'm not someone who struggles with anxiety. I just mean the general anxious feeling that you feel, that sensation. Now I'm going in, it's like I get to act. This part is mine for 7.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And what started to happen to me was I became a chemist. A couple years ago, right after COVID, I started teaching audition tech before I booked Shrinking. And that was where I felt very excited to share my experience because I wouldn't want to teach acting because I'm still figuring that out. But I got auditioning. I got that one. And the reason why is because that's a job interview. It's more about you than the character. And if there's one character I know how to play, and this might not be true for everybody, that's fine. It's Luke. I'll be struggling to play a bunch of other ones, but I can play Luke. I've been doing that one my whole life.
No one's going to do it better.
Yeah, that's mine. That's my part.
Yeah.
So what I figured out was how to be concise, like I mentioned earlier. I started to feel like when casting liked me, they'd be like, where you from? What's my answer? Born in Chicago, raised in South Florida. I said, I got it. Why you want to act? Fell in love with it in high school. Yeah, you found out in high school? What'd you do in high school? I played some football. Wasn't that good, but I'm glad to be here. Got real concise, my short and sweet answers.
Yeah.
You don't have to cut me off because I'm done.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the actual part.
Yeah.
Because at the time, self-tapes weren't as rampant as they are now post-COVID.
Right.
So I felt like I figured that out. Then when it came to the actual chemistry of auditioning, I began to view it as a demonstration of my capabilities. So instead of me thinking like, oh, let me go in and try to convince them I'm the part, I was like, let me audition my talent for their brains. So just show them what you're good at. I can handle jargon well.
Yeah.
So like, anytime a character's got to say a bunch of nonsense, I got to audition right now. I'm working on. I got to say a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah. Like
you talking about a spaceship or whatever, a bunch of 70s alien Star Trek nonsense.
Yeah.
I've been good at that. So even if jargon isn't in the script, I'll find a way to demonstrate to them that I can handle it by the way I'm performing, turning these periods into commas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Or, this is a casting director who casts a lot of ethnic work. Where can I make this character from to show them I'm good with my dialect? And then switch up my slate, talking about hi, I'm Luke Tennie. Code switch for them, let them know what I got. You know? Because why would they Google me? They don't know me.
Yeah.
Finding solutions like that are fun, that keep it exciting for me so I can enjoy it. And then actually have a system so when a casting director calls me back, they're familiar with my work enough to know, what I demonstrated last time, I can either re-demonstrate or explore something new so that by the time I'm in for the third time, they have a full concept of my capabilities.
Yes.
And now they just calling me even when it's wrong to see if they can get me in because they know I'll do it.
Right. So that's it really interesting because just the idea of it's kind of like what should be happening on a date, on a first date, right? Instead of thinking about what you think this person might want in a partner and trying to be that, you're just showing yourself and what you can do.
Do you want
because
who I am?
That if they do want that thing that you were doing before trying to make that thing up, you can't do that well. Why present that? Even if it's I would say your theory might be right, even if it's slightly like doesn't make sense for the role.
I agree.
Right?
It's worked for me.
Because in the very least, they'll remember you for something else if it's not right. But they may not even remember you for something else. If you try to hit the bullseye that is made up anyway. It's
I'm trying to get on the board.
Yeah.
You know? Get on the board.
Yeah. That's very interesting.
Then something comes along and maybe it is right. And from my experience, I rarely get cast by a casting director the first time they see me, with the exception of Jeremy and Jane from Shock and Awe. But it's like a layer. I got to keep reintroducing myself and laying down these layers.
Yes.
Continue demonstrating and being grateful, taking advantage of your opportunity to act. But you're so right. Like, and I would talk to my homies about that. They'd be like, this character breakdown says this. And I'm like, yeah. And if they want that, they're going to see that.
Yeah.
Because they called that right person in and they're going to book it. But I'm going to book them. And I was willing to be wrong.
Yes.
And I was. Like you said, 100 times. Man, I wish I had my log. I keep a log.
Oh, right.
I got like over 300 auditions. So I know who said no, when, for what, and why. I got a log of it.
It's an Excel spreadsheet.
Right. But I know who said yes, and I'm grateful for them too.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that the character of Sean on Shrinking, it feels like, and this is like, I guess, the ultimate compliment. Like, it feels like there's no writers. It feels like that's you created that character. Okay.
Thank you. That's a big compliment.
So tell me about that audition. They had seen you before.
I don't think so. But by that time, I had motion.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I can't act like that wasn't the case.
Right.
By that time, I was sad. By that time, I had done a TV show.
People had seen you.
Yeah. So somebody knew me.
Yeah.
And I knew that when I read it, I read the whole pilot. When I get a pilot and an audition, I read the pilot before I read the sides. It's a luxury.
Makes sense, yeah.
So I'm like, let me see what everything is before I see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I thought it was extremely clear exactly what they wanted. And I thought that lined up a lot with my impulse. Come to find out, I watched an interview where Jason spoke with casting, because I'm obsessed with my show and I really admire everybody who works on it. They're my heroes. And they said they wrote Sean as like a roid rage sort of really boisterous thing. And then I came in doing like a gentle giant thing. And they're like, oh, all that's wrong. But don't tell them.
Wow.
Let's just have them do it and see what they think.
Wow.
So they had me go to the producers with what they didn't ask for.
Wow.
And they liked it.
Wow.
So they re-geared for what I had presented with them.
See?
But to be fair, the impression that I got was what I did. So you could argue that the writers were extremely clear because the person who ended up playing the part like my interpretation of the character has been the same from day one.
Yeah.
From the audition.
Yeah.
It was very clear to me when I read that script. I did not get any of that. It didn't have that much. There's no fat in any of his work. Like the action lines are very, very concise. And there's a moment in the first scene with Jimmy where I do get upset, but it's because he's not listening to me and I have to be here. But they said in one of the auditions, we should fear for Jason. Like you're going to hit him or something. And I was like, okay, how do I do that when he's 10 feet away from me? So me and my partner, Esteban, a good friend of mine, we worked on that. I was like, how do I make the casting directors who are reading with me feel the danger from over here?
Yeah.
And one of the few things that I started decent with in acting school was stillness. They never really ever had to tell me to move less. And I was like, if this is a military guy, I should be working from zero. They would have beat that out of him. Here I go.
Yeah.
Stiller than me, you know? Because I like to.
Yeah.
You see me, you in the room with me.
Yeah.
I really enjoy making sure my communication is understood on all fronts with every tool at my disposal.
Yeah.
Sean gonna say what he gonna say. He gonna be who he gonna be. And that was very clear to me. And I think it just so happened to line up with every other character that they were writing. And I'm so, so glad to be working on a comedy. Even though I'm one of the characters with the stick up my butt. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
Even playing the straight man, I'm just happy to be on something with laughs.
Yeah.
So grateful for it.
There's some kind of magic with this show. There's some kind of
Thank you, man.
Yeah, it's like it feels like the actors have room to breathe with their characters. What is that? Is that in the script? Is that directorial? Is that coming from the showrunner? Or is that just in my head?
You're right.
Yeah, what is that?
I think that's the casting. They cast performers who were strong at improv. With the exception of Lukita and I, they didn't really know who we were, but they know we had worked. So when we got there, we got hip. But Jessica, when she comes to work, that script is a guideline. And that's not a negative thing.
No.
Like they'll ask her sometimes, like, can we get one that's scripted and then like do your thing? And they never use the one that's just scripted. Because they know when they're writing for her character, for Gabby, they know that Jess gonna come in, she gonna do her thing. She gonna throw some sauce on it.
Yes.
And then Jason is like as needed, which is surprising because you look at him, you're like, obviously this is an improv guy. But it's like he's also a writer. So he knows to get the first one, the second one, and then he doing some crazy stuff. Man, watching that guy improv is like watching freaking Steph shoot threes. You know what I'm saying? It's somebody who's in their element.
Yeah.
It's just, that's easy for him.
Yeah.
Brain just on.
Yeah.
So I think the magic is in bringing together a wide variety of people with high proficiency in different things.
Yeah.
But also enough proficiency in this one thing, which is improvisation. Everybody's like when Michael came to set, I was there his first day on set. And then he and Jason are playing best friends. And I have been working with Jason a lot. A lot of my scenes were in the first episode were in that first week. And then Michael came at the end of that first week. And he's doing the scene where he's representing me in like the court hearing after I beat up the guy who beat Jimmy up. And he came in and he walked straight out of an Aaron Sorkin show. Let's not waste each other's time. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Just the dialogue, man. All the commas and periods were there, but he didn't breathe. Yeah. And then Jason was like, I love it. And then he got hyped. Like us sitting in this room getting hype about good work. Yeah. He started telling, oh, Michael, I was you in the other scene the other day. I channeled you. He was like, what do you mean? He was like, and it's Jason Segel going around telling people, hey, I stole from you. It was great. Yeah. Thanks. I'm like, does he know how encouraging that is to people? Just blessing people, letting them know, hey, you inspired me to perform in a different way. Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
It's beautiful. When a different director comes in for each episode, how does that change things for you?
I've recently started filmmaking, and I've been on a set that I produced and was performing in. And what I realized is you can wear many hats, but never at the same time. You wear one hat at a time. You're going to put another hat on. You got to take the one that you're wearing off. Even if it's for 2 minutes, you can't put them all on at the same time. It's one on at a time, no matter how short. And when I'm an actor, I come to set prepared, inspired by Jason, and in my own life, of course. So I don't have to just focus on my character while we're setting up. I can pay attention. And from what I've seen, the difference of directors doesn't affect the tone or pacing of the show. What it affects is like the flavor. I like cooking.
Yeah.
They're going to make a good steak with every episode. Sometimes the aromatic going to be garlic. Sometimes it's going to be rosemary. Sometimes it's thyme. Sometimes it's all of them. Sometimes it's sage. Sometimes they throw a little cardamom in there. Or instead of the steak sauce where you deglaze the pan, they said, let me make a chimichurri. Yeah. That's what the different directors do.
Yeah.
You're going to get that steak.
It's always going to be charred.
Yup. I like a char on the outside. I didn't know you was joking yet. But I like it dark on the outside with that medium rare. Like it works really well. But they're going to change that overtone.
Right.
And for me as a performer, when I'm working with Zach Braff, that guy, he comes and he knows exactly what he wants with his shots. And he knows exactly what he wants with his actors. So he knows exactly which things he wants to give to the editor. Not which one thing are you going to do, which things to hit. And then he's hoping that you come with 2 or 3 after you nail those. When I'm working with James Ponsoldt, I feel like he knows exactly what he wants. But when he comes to me, he's like, I wonder if Sean here is feeling a little affected by not being able to see his family. He walks away. Well, whenever you're ready. Like, what? He just asked me a question and just stepped off. And then my brain's going crazy thinking about, I wonder how you would be responding to these thoughts in the middle of this conversation. Is it going to build frustration? Is it going to build anger? And action. And now I'm in this scene with this new flavor. Yeah. Oh, this was that chimichurri. Here we go. Whereas with Zach, he's like, garlic. I'm like, bet, garlic. I got that joint. And he's like, that's not quite garlic. Like, that's like shallot. Yeah. Let me get garlic. I'm like, all right. Okay, that's garlic. Yeah. Yeah. So they communicate to the actors in a different way. Right. And it's so interesting for me to see how it works.
But we're not going to sit here and pretend that you don't have one favorite flavor.
To be honest, this is going to sound it's so annoying. Okay. I think there's a difference between my favorite and what's best. So I do work really well when a director honestly gives me a line read. I come from football. Go here, block that guy. Yeah. That's it. I'm not like, oh, I didn't get to explore. I'm the one saying it anyway. It's fine. So when somebody is like, hey, this is what you're shooting to the target. You're using this gun with this scope. Yeah. Ready, aim, fire. Yeah. I feel comfortable when I get that. Yeah. But when I work with somebody like James, who's just asking me a question and then just going behind the camera, I definitely can see how differently that affects me. And there's more variety. I don't know if more variety is good. There's only going to be one take that they pick. Right. Maybe it was one of those where he asked me those questions. Maybe it wasn't. Right. But I feel safe with a director who's like, I want that. You want purple? Here's purple. Yeah. But I feel challenged by a director who doesn't tell me what to do. Yeah. I feel nervous. And my performance is definitely not just my impulse. Right. It feels like more of a collaboration.
And it's scarier, and therefore maybe
I get more. Right. But they're both fun. I love it. I have fun with both of them. It's great.
And do you think an actor has to be ready and willing to do both? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's some people who don't. There's definitely people, and I'm going to say probably a large percentage of the people that have come on the show do not like a line reading.
Right. And I get it. Yeah. I do agree. That's overstepping.
But they're going to get one day.
I do think that that's overstepping. I just don't care. Yeah. And I do think that when look, James did frickin' End of the Tour. Yeah. All right, and I love that movie, and it speaks to my heart, and when you see his work, you understand why he directs the way he directs.
Yeah.
You understand he's trying to get this real slice of life thing out of you.
Yeah.
And then when I look at Zach, somebody who did Garden State and worked on Scrubs for so long, it makes sense that you got to deliver what's needed at that time.
Yeah.
And I do think, unfortunately, an actor does not need to be ready to do both. Because depending on your name and where you're at and who you're working with, you can just say nah and then they'll make it work.
Yeah.
But for me, I want to be able to do both. Because I don't just want to be some guy. I want to be like Denzel. I want to be like Chiwetel. I want to be like David Oyelowo, like these really transformative performers who seem to have a handle on shifting with delicate nuance through themselves with characters that are vastly different from one another.
Yes.
Who can do big budget blockbusters like 2012 and then Doctor Strange and then also do 12 Years a Slave, referring to Chiwetel.
Yes.
Like, that's the kind of thing I want to be able to do. I want to be able to do The Equalizer and Glory. These people who seem to mesh academic recognition with a good time at the movies and box office. Ain't nobody nominating Denzel for Equalizer. They nominating him for Flight. But he's in both.
Yeah.
And what that would allow me to do is create work where I could put my homies on
Yes.
and pull an Adam Sandler and go out and shoot something with the
Speaking
homies.
of that, talk to me about Dirty Coffee Picture.
Thanks, man.
Nice segue.
Yeah. It's just me and my homie trying to make stuff. Me and my homie trying to make stuff that resonates with us. We want to create at the highest level, and we're not at the highest level. So we start where we're at and climb to where we're going. When we made Jade, we had so many restrictions. We started off trying to shoot this movie called OT, which Noam wrote. And it was about this guy who was just trying to do one job to get some money that he needed for his family. And we were going to do a car shoot, and we were going to go up north and kind of go into, your OT stands for out of town. And we're just going to go in, I think, Vermont, and play that for upstate New York and shoot a diner and all this. Like we had it all ready, and we were ready to shoot that in March 2020. So we never shot it.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, well, how about we work on something that we can shoot with all the restrictions? And that's how we made Jade. 2 performers, 1 location, 15 minutes. And we ended up with this story about a man who needs a haircut. He's got a court case coming up, and he just wants to look good. He's fighting to get back custody of his daughter.
I like
That's
this
the
film.
movie.
I've seen this film.
Oh,
I
you
like
have?
this film.
Thank you, man.
Yes. And I always tell people, you want to make a movie? 2 guys in a room.
That's the place to start.
That's it. And you have circumstances, and you have this situation with this other neighbor, like, and it comes together in the end. And like, that's, sometimes restrictions actually bring out the better art.
And that's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Those guidelines, those gates, those boundaries can free you to find the infinite within them.
Yes. Yes.
And that's where the art is.
Yes. So I guess it is important that you are not just trying to stay in the game of auditioning and being in great things, that you're actually making content yourself. And it just seems like actors need to do that nowadays, right? I mean,
I agree.
But are there things that you want to be doing that you need to create?
Yeah.
And like, can you talk about some wing that you have that isn't flapping fully yet, that you want to unfold and start flapping away on?
I truly, the way that's a nice metaphor. That metaphor was like a meta 5. I'm rocking with you. So the wings I'm trying to soar on right now, there's 2 main ones. I've always seen myself as a character actor. I want to master every dialect of the African American community across the United States. I like how people in Louisiana say baby. I like the way they squish that vowel. I like how in California people say out here, cuh, and them R's are kind of hard. I like on the East Coast when everything falls off at the end. Water, water. Like the way I like all of that. I want to learn all of that. I want to play all of it. I want to play the whole diaspora of African Americans in America. I'm obsessed with it. I want to be a character actor. I want to do what Tom Hardy does. I want to do what Day Lewis does. But also, I like to punch and kick. I want to do action. I love Agbo. I work with them cats on Deadly Class, And I played a pacifist on that show, so I didn't get to do any action. And I'm obsessed with it. I love the Gray Man. I love, the Russos do Marvel and all that stuff too. Like they did Winter Soldier, some of my favorite action sequences. So those are the two wings I'm trying to flap. So I'm working on creating an action project, which I will most definitely be pitching to all the resources I got. Like the people who made, Agbo, like I mentioned, the people who made Nobody. I love that movie. Nobody watched that. I love it because it's an unconventional action star. Bob Odenkirk is incredible, but you casting beaten up cats on a bus, I'm in. From the creators of John Wick, I'm in. We know Keanu's an action guy. Yeah. Give me some Bob Odenkirk in there. Now that's a nice flavor. Yeah. That ain't chimichurri. They cooking a whole other dish, bro. I like that. You got some empanadas with some umami in there or something. I don't know. But I want it. I'm trying to taste that. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff I want to do. Because I feel like even though I'm a big guy, I'm a jubilant guy. A lot of people might not necessarily look at me and see action. That's fine. You don't have to see it. I'm going to make it. That's my goal. And with Shrinking, it covered something that I've been fighting for forever. I was not ever getting cast in comedies. And when I started acting, I thought I was going to be the Fresh Prince. I thought I was going to be doing comedy. And it finally came around to it. And now it's probably going to be in everything I create. You can see there's humor in Jade. And we're just bickering, We just pulled from my actual friendship. Nice. The kind of stuff we would bicker about. Yeah. But, oh, man. Those are the things I want to get into. Continuing comedy, spread some wings in action, and spread some wings in transforming.
Okay, wait. Before we end, I'm going to be seeing Nickel Boys at the press screening of the New York Film Festival.
Cool.
Have you seen it?
I just saw it.
What can you tell us about it? I mean, everybody knows the book, but what could you tell us about this thing? And who do you play?
Right. So I play a character named Griff, who is tasked with representing the Nickel Boys Academy, representing the Nickel Academy in the annual boxing match, which happens between two schools that are both correctional facilities for underage people. The book is inspired by, it's a fiction, but it's like a historical fiction. It is a representation of what life was like or may have been like at the Dozier School for Boys, which was a real school that was founded in the 60s and actually only closed in 2011. I don't really like doing parts in films about African American trauma. I think at some point we're digging up stuff we can read in history books and creating entertainment. When I read The Nickel Boys, which is set in Florida, referencing the Dozier School for Boys that was in Florida, and I learned it closed in 2011, I said I could have went there. I have to do this movie. And I've never seen a movie like The Nickel Boys. And you'll be able to tell from the first frame. It's not shot like a traditional movie. I'm not going to tell you how it's shot, but I can tell you if you read the book, when the first frame comes on from that movie, you'll get it.
Wow.
And you'll be like, really? This is what we're doing the whole movie? The answer is yes. We are doing this the whole movie.
Wow.
And then there's...
Now you got me.
It's not whatever a movie is.
Yeah.
Ramel said, nah, he comes from documentaries. So I think his brain is kind of opened. Oh, there's so much I want to say. It's just not, you'll see. It's not shot like a normal movie. It's not edited like a normal movie. It is one of the most visceral things I've ever seen. And I'm just grateful to be. I'm in that movie for like 2 minutes and I could not be prouder of just my affiliation with it.
So is this going to take the world by storm, this movie?
We'll see.
Sounds like it. I mean,
I feel like some people are going to watch and be like, that was dumb. You didn't need to do that. And I'm like, if you had read the book, you'd understand. You'd get it. And that's fine. If people don't get it, fine. But if we're going to continue telling these stories, I would prefer if they were educational.
Yeah.
We don't need to see the same trauma hashed up again and again. And look, a lot of African American artists would disagree with me, and that's fine. then they can continue to make those works.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, it's not in my interest.
Yeah.
I want to represent us now or in the past without some sort of service to entertain people through the lens of our trauma.
Yeah, I get that.
That to me feels responsible.
Yes.
But the Nickel Boys is a story unseen that will no longer be unseen. People need to know about that. We know about slavery. We know about the oppression. We know about the nuance of Jim Crow. Perhaps if there's something new to explore there, I'd be excited to hop on board. Nickel Boys is something new and necessary.
Now you got me excited. Luke Tennie, I want you to come back on this
I'll be back.
show.
I really enjoyed this. Like I said, my family, we appreciate excellence. And I see what you're doing here, and it's excellent.
That means a lot to me.
I mean what I'm saying.
That means a lot to me after you just said that.
I am coming back, and I can't wait to go and continue listening. Because I only heard about this podcast through when my reps was like, yo, you gotta come and do this interview. I heard the Duplas. I'm checking everything out, dog.
Good.
Because I'm trying to learn.
This is for you.
Thank you. It is for me.
This
That's
is
how
for
it
you.
feels.
And now you're another leaf on the tree.
It's an honor to be here.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.